morning and welcome to the Mindfulness broadcast. This morning, good morning. Hello. Y'all, we're in August. My mind is blown with that. Just absolutely blown with that. Time just marches on. So this morning, I want to talk about self-regulation and what that means and what that looks like and how we do it, how mindfulness is connected to it. So with self-regulation, I want you to think about a moment where you feel, let's say your nerves are getting elevated, maybe your breath is getting more shallow. There's some message inside of you about something's wrong, something's not working. Maybe there's a timeline, there's some FOMO, there's something happening where you start to feel, or maybe you've read an email or a text, or you've just gotten out of a meeting that has felt triggering for you. And so you have that moment of feeling triggered. I'm going to use that word, triggered. I want you to just think about what that feels like for you. What happens for you just on a physiological level? What do you notice in your body? And maybe if you're like most of us, what you start to feel is maybe some shortness of breath. Your breath quickens, gets a little bit more shallow. Maybe your brain starts racing with some messaging that is usually tainted with anxiety or negativity because of our negativity bias. Maybe you get a little hot, a little sweaty, or even a little cold, maybe some numbness or some tingling, some physical sensations. Maybe there's like a pit in your stomach that happens, like some burning sensations. We're all kind of unique in this, but there's definitely some similarities to our response. And so through the gift of mindfulness, what we do is tap into that. So rather than avoiding that, which we're just layering another issue on top of that, instead what we do is we lean in. So we come into the present moment experience. So we go, oh, I'm triggered. Right? Oh, I can feel my heart's beating, my breath is quicker, that old messaging in my brain about good enough or whatever that messaging is there. And we might even welcome it. Oh, hello, old friend. Oh, hi, stress. I know you. I know what you're like. Hi, anxiety or fear or whatever it is. Right? Oh, hi, I see you. And then we start to get mindful and self-regulate. But we cannot self-regulate if we don't first know that something is happening for us. So that's the beauty of mindfulness, is we're tapping into our present moment. Without it, we mindlessly have that experience. So we're having that experience either way. We're triggered either way. Are we going to be mindful with it and intentional and create a result that feels in alignment with who we are? Or are we going to let it, the thoughts, the sensations, the lower brain, guide our experiences? So when we want to be in choice with it, what we want to do is notice it, and then practice some self-regulation techniques so that we can get back into our prefrontal cortex, back into a part of our brain that has logic, that has problem-solving capabilities, that can be present and think about, well, what are the outcomes of my choices, of my words? What do I want the result to be? How do I want to be in relationship with this trigger? And so to do that, we have to self-regulate, right? We have to have some technique. We have to have some ability. So our breath, we practiced that one last week. These elongated exhales really help us. When another technique that we can use, sorry, I'm reading the chats. I'm trying to figure out what's happening out there. And we can also use visualization. So that's a technique that I'm going to bring to us today in our practice. And for some of us, visualization is very easy. Our mind just goes right into it. We can see details. We can even start to smell things and really get into it. For others, visualization can be very challenging and very hard. So show up to this with whatever ability you have. And if you can't get into the visualization, instead just kind of list it. You can do that as well. Just kind of verbally creating the situation in your mind. So you don't necessarily have to see it If you can, that's a really great way to do this, but otherwise, there are a million other ways that you can come at it. So, with that, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, or you can take a soft gaze. And again, I want you to call to mind that feeling of, oh, I've been triggered. And needing that, maybe there's a very recent experience or an experience that your mind goes right to when I talk about that. I want you to go into that with mindfulness, with self appreciation, with curiosity. Just kind of describe that to yourself and describe what you're feeling inside or outside or the thought process. How do you know you've been triggered? And that's what I want us to drop into, is that moment. And so, again, if you can't visualize that, just describe the situation to yourself. And again, we're not getting into the story. He said, they said, this happened. Instead, we're just going, I felt my breath shift. I felt myself stonewall, want to run, want to flee. Your own experience. And then just take a deep breath to ground yourself in that moment. And see if you can rise above that moment to tell yourself, oh, I've been triggered. That's what this is. You might again add the hi, old friend language to it. In doing so, we just kind of open up to this normalizing of this experience and dropping ourselves into what we do have control of. So, one of the techniques that we can use when we find ourselves in this moment, this need or desire to self-regulate is visualization. And it can just be a minute or two. It can be accompanied by breath and affirmations. Right now, I want you to go to a place when I say, what's your safe space? What's your happy place? Go there in your mind. And it might be a place from the past that no longer exists. You might be alone or amongst loved ones or crowds. It might be vast and expansive. It might be small and cozy. It might be a fantasy land that you've never actually been to or experienced in the physical form. And if your mind can't land on one, just think about what would be a safe space or a happy place for you. Notice if there's any physical sensations for you in this safe place. What are you touching? What's touching you? Are you cuddled into a soft, cozy, warm bed and you can feel the sheets? Is there sand beneath your feet? Is there warmth of skin through an embrace? What do you feel in this safe space? There are many ways to answer that. You can simply describe it, you can drop in and see if you can actually feel it. And imagining that you are looking at everything that is around you with your eyes, taking it all in. What are the details? What colors? Who is present? What's in your visual space? Taking notice, all the little details. Taking notice of any taste that might be accompanying this experience. Taste of something delicious, something sweet, something savory. Allowing your sense of smell to drop in to this moment. Smells that are around you that make up this safe, happy space. And then finally, sounds, other birds, other voices, the ocean, wind, silence. Be in that moment, deepening your breath, fully experiencing all that's around you. Breathing in, slowly breathing out. There are several ways that you can use this practice. You can act like you're kind of crumpling it up, making it smaller, the size of a small pebble, placing it somewhere that you can take it with you throughout the day, placing it in your heart or your pocket or some trigger point on your body. You can also use this as a platform to look back at the trigger from this place of safety, of calm, and start to get curious. What's the next right step? It's an important lesson for me. How do I want to respond? There are many ways that you can use this practice. For now, we'll close, bringing our attention back to our breath, dropping ourselves back in this moment, a Friday morning, 8:30, all together in this beautiful practice. All of these techniques help us activate our parasympathetic nervous system. It's key to our ability to self-regulate. It's key to our ability for self-management, for emotional intelligence, for success in relationships and at work. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes or bring your gaze back. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. Be well, have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next week. There will be emails coming out about the Mindful Masterclass, so we'll be sure to send those. And if you join us in the coaching circle, if you're part of that group, we'll send some emails out about that as well. We'll see you soon, everyone. Be well. Take care. Bye-bye.